They actually dragged the case on until it reached a year.
Yeah.
Because in North Carolina, once you reach a year, then whoever's got temporary custody becomes like a permanent custody. It's another reason. It's like a status quo, you know. It's another reason why they dragged it and dragged it, you know. We flew there every time she had a court hearing, and it was always continued. And her ex would say, tell your mother to bring a big box of Kleenex this time, thinking that there's going to be a hearing and who knows what he was going to do. He also said that his family knows everyone in the community, so there's no way she would get justice there.
Yeah.
He says, we don't know just the people in this community, but throughout most of the state.
Yeah.
Because they have a big business and they employ a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they're everywhere. So that one hearing I was telling you about, where we were told it was going to be the final hearing.
Yeah.
The judge approaches the lawyer and says, talk to the families. In other words, I don't know what to do now because she did a wonderful job, you know, representing herself.
Yeah.
And soon after that, my daughter goes to church one day because she was told not to go to the same church they used to go to with her child.
Yeah.
Because if her daughter sees her, she would cry and she'd want to be with her mother.
Yeah.
So she goes to a different church. I mean, this is a small community.
Yeah.
And it's like a church like only 2 miles away from the church she normally attended.
Yeah.
Well, she goes to the church and everyone was super, super friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Days later, we received a letter from the judge saying that she was recusing herself because she saw my daughter in church. You know, this is a public place.
Yeah.
Right? And she explained the reasons and what she thought happened. She saw my daughter, and then she said she left before the service was over.
Mm-hmm.
And so she consulted with the Judicial Commission of the state, and they told her it's better for her to recuse herself.
Mm-hmm.
And so she stated some things like this in the letter that she sent. And so that was kind of odd that she should recuse herself after my daughter did such a wonderful job representing herself.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And she apologizes to the family that she had to recuse herself. How about to us, we'd fly there again for the hearing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so soon after that, here my daughter was shopping for another lawyer. We were shopping for lawyers. I don't know how many lawyers we interviewed and how much money we spent just on interviews. They would never take it. So she met with this lawyer. She had never heard of her. Someone recommended this lawyer. She had never seen this woman. And when she met with her, she says to my daughter, I know who you are. You're the one that's stalking the judge around. You're the one that followed her to the restaurant. And then you followed her home. And my daughter is shocked, you know. So she calls me, she says, Mom, I didn't hire this woman. And I thought, why not? Does she know the family too? She says, Mom, this woman is crazy. She says, I don't want to hire her. She wouldn't represent my mother and my daughter because she thought that my daughter was a terrible person who's following the judge around, you know, and calling the judge, calling her on her cell phone. My daughter was calling her, in other words. And she says she's crazy. She's got me mixed up with someone else. She was telling me these stories about me stalking the judge and calling the judge. Well, a few days later, she received something from his lawyer about a hearing with those very accusations that the lawyer that she didn't even knew about. Now you tell me, how did this lawyer find out the story? My daughter thought she was crazy, but then she gets confirmation that her ex's lawyer had the same story that she heard from this lawyer. And the judge was complying with this whole story, which means that the ex's lawyer and the judge all were in bed together with this story, right? Yeah. So now they go judge shopping for another judge that the lawyer knows very well, his connections with, from another county.
Yeah.
You know, where the lawyer's from, the ex-lawyer.
Yeah.
And so she comes in, she says, I give you 3 hours when we meet. And then it's going to be over. I'm going to rule, you know. And she decides that to settle this dispute about the judge and the stalking and all that, you know, the previous judge who recused herself, that maybe she should call her in to be questioned, right? And so my daughter, a pro se who couldn't find a lawyer, questioned the recused judge, who kept changing her story around. She says, is it true that you said that I followed you from church to the restaurant? She says, yes. She says, it's a very small parking lot. Now, you said that you left the service before the service was over and I was sitting in front of you. So were you waiting for me in the parking lot or what? And she was all confused. She says, well, did you see me get into my car? Oh, yes. And then you followed me. She says, what color is my car? Well, she couldn't answer.
Yeah.
Oh, what type of car do I drive? Is it a truck? Is it a, you know? She had no answers for her. Which way did I turn? You know? So she says, and at the restaurant, where was I sitting? You know, did you see me? Where was it? She says, well, actually, I didn't see you. My son saw you. How old is your son? 12 years old. Does your son know me? You know, her son doesn't know my daughter.
Yeah.
She said it was her son. You know, none of this was in the letter where she recused herself. It was something they fabricated afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay. And then she said that she had a sheriff patrolling her street because she was afraid of my daughter and had to buy a gun to protect herself against my daughter. My daughter said to her, have I ever given you any reason for you to be afraid of me? And she said, no. She says, well, then why do you have the sheriff, you know, patrolling your street to make sure that I don't stalk you? She says, well, I have to admit that I have 2 criminal cases, and I was kind of worried about that. And then about the phone calls, my daughter brought in a copy of her cell phone record.
Yeah.
She says, here's my cell phone record. Do you see her telephone number in there?
Yeah.
She says, no.
Yeah.
And of course, she asked her a lot of other questions.
Yeah.
And the judge was so confused, so red in the face. And her stories kept changing because when you don't tell the truth, you can never
can't
get the
keep
story
it straight. Yeah.
Right? You know,
Yeah.
it's always easy.
It's easy to tell the truth.
When you lie,
I know.
you
It
know,
comes back.
You know.
Yeah.
So it was very obvious, and they were trying to get my daughter to pay her ex's lawyer's fees.
In addition to the $150,000.
Yes.
In addition to the fact that he was the one that had the girlfriend.
And they were blaming the fact that the judge recused herself.
On her.
You know, on my daughter because, you know, I mean, oh my goodness, it's just so complicated and it's hard to, you know, recall all of these memories.
Yeah.